All right, welcome in, Laura. How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How's it going for you today?
It's going pretty good. Pretty good. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So tell us about yourself. Tell us about your business. Tell us about what you do.
Great. Well, my name is Laura Villarreal, obviously, and I met you on school. I do have a life outside of school, so I'm a wife and a mother of two great children that are 10 and 5 years old. I also am a doodle mom, so our mini Bernie doodle keeps everybody busy, but she's really funny and a lot of fun. Um, I work full time in a consulting role, helping clients with communications, campaigns, and strategies. And about, I want to say about a little over a year ago, I just decided it was time to dive into my what ifs, right? Like, what if I had my own business, or what if I did my own consulting instead of working for somebody else? So that's kind of where all of this started.
Okay. What triggered you to start asking what ifs?
So I think for me, um, you know, I have over 20 years of experience, and you think about where do I want to be? What do I want to do? What kind of life do I want to craft? Not just for me, but for my family. What other things would I hope to be able to pass along to my kids? And I've always, in the back of my mind, thought about taking action, becoming an entrepreneur. And, who you're becoming is a really important question for anyone who is considering what is the next step, because we can become that vision in our head if we're willing, to get over a few hurdles and then start doing it. So, um, kind of big talk, I guess. But, I started my career after college in sales. I went into marketing and events for a nonprofit trade association that led to government communications consulting. I also then took an exit ramp and went and worked for a Fortune 5 healthcare company doing corporate
Okay.
communications. And, that's the job that you're supposed to want. Big logo, huge national projects, all of that stuff. And when my husband and I got engaged, it just felt like I was doing everything right. And then 2 years after getting married, uh, we had a baby, and I returned from what was just a super short maternity leave. And even though I returned to a remote job that I had travel, about quarterly, so about 4 times a year. But I was working remotely from my own house, but it wasn't that great anymore. My son was around maybe 4 months old, and a senior vice president decided to reward me by putting me on not just several intense national projects, but also one for the C-suite, and it required 6 weeks of working 60 to 80 hours plus
Wow.
weekends, and it was absolutely mandatory.
With a 4 month year old? For the
A
4 month old?
4 month old. Yeah, it was
Wow.
insane. Yeah, I remember sitting at my laptop this one night. It was like a late Saturday night. Had, mothers, they've got to make milk and pump that milk for their babies at that age. And I'm sitting there doing that and at my laptop, and I just started realizing like this company would eat every part of my life if I let it. And it really felt like it was in
Yeah.
that season. And so, the work that I was so good at mattered more to that company than the real story that I was living. And that's kind of like one of those moments where I started thinking about, hello, if you don't own the narrative, somebody else is going to write it for you. And it kind of roused in me a desire to push away from corporate America as much as possible and get back into client consulting work. And so now I've been over a year diving into different entrepreneurial opportunities because there are lots of them and lots of ways to do it. And so, I'm building something for founders who don't want their launches for a new product or their lives to get overrun,
Hmm.
kind of like how life was when I worked for corporate America. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So you had the kid, you had your son. You went on a short maternity leave. You got slammed hard by corporate America, trying to juggle new mom, crazy project you're working on, or projects, that sounds like. And it really made you stop to ask, like, am I in control of my life right now?
Right. Yes. And so that's when it started for me. But I didn't immediately take action. It was just reading about it. And so fast forward now, my son is 10. And
Mm.
so it took me some time to have the courage to say, yeah, I can go explore and make experiments. I think
Hmm.
a lot of things about our culture try to tell people they're not allowed to try many experiments, have a failure or whatnot.
Hmm.
And I kind of relate that to what I did with my son a few years ago. We decided we wanted to learn how to play chess.
Oh.
And I didn't know how to play chess. I didn't remember. And of course, my son was, he was younger. He was a kid. So what did I do? We built it into our day every day, um, with a set that had, it's called the chess teacher. So you could
Mm.
learn by looking at the pieces, which place you're supposed to go on there. And we just did it every day, multiple times a day, even when we didn't know how to play chess. And it was just, we got better at it. And that's kind of like business.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny you bring up chess because I like chess too. So, like, about a year ago, started getting more into chess again. So, that's cool. So, okay, so do you have a question? So, it took you like 10 years. You said, like, to build up the courage to actually try and experiment. What was there something that happened or something that clicked in your head that said, I'm finally going to give this a shot and stop being afraid, or do it afraid? Because really, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other challenges for me was the comfort of not pushing myself into unknown territory.
Mm.
It from 10 years ago to today, a lot of things have transpired in my life, in my family's life. I have two kids now. We relocated a few years ago. There was a ton of things, job changes, and um, I think what happened for me about a year ago is that I decided I wasn't getting any younger and I needed to start doing something to test it out, try it out. What's the big deal, right? People have all kinds of hobbies. And I
Mm-hmm.
used to have so many of them before children, like gardening, bike riding, but it's a little challenging sometimes to fit all of the stuff in. So I think, being too comfortable in the 9 to 5, some people call it the golden handcuffs, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. Um, that was part of it. And then just being willing to do it imperfectly.
Yeah.
People
So
say
the
that,
first
but it can be hard for perfectionists.
I believe it. I think a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurship tend to lean toward perfectionism too. It seems like wanting everything to be just so. Uh, but so you did it imperfect. So what was that first thing you did when you took imperfect action?
So I started so I started talking to one of those franchise people
Mm-hmm.
that they look for investors to start their own franchise. And I felt like, no, I don't really want to be a franchise owner because that's just kind of like working for somebody because you have to follow their rules but you're investing money into it. But I still said, well, let me explore this. Let's have some conversations. Let's see what they present. And,
Mm-hmm.
let me verify that that is truly how I feel. And that is basically how I felt after doing
Uh,
it. But, I was willing to explore it. Then I, was able to move on from that. I invested in a program for uh, basically learning digital marketing. And
mm-hmm.
even though I have over 20 years of experience in marketing and communications, that is a huge umbrella. And there are so many things that are nested underneath of it. And so I was like, well, let me try to make sure that I can improve my skills to the best, by doing this program. So that is how I ended up on school. I had no idea what school was. I didn't even get the concept of communities until probably almost 6 months after I bought that program and was learning and doing stuff with it. So,
Yeah, don't feel bad about that. It took me a couple of years. I think got into school in like 2021, 2022, and I didn't go back until like 6 months ago. So
mhm.
you got there faster than I did.
Yeah, well, one day I decided I am going to be consistent with this thing. And I started clicking around, and I didn't know why some people had these flame emojis behind their name. And so then when I discovered what it was and what it meant, I was like, oh, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And so, yeah, I set that goal last fall. I want 365 green squares, and I want to
Nice.
see what I can do with that consistent behavior. And sometimes I pair it with other things, but yeah, it's a whole new world. From now to a year ago, I didn't understand the concept of school.
It's kind of addictive in a way.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, so for people who don't know, on the school platform, there's different communities, and when you see a person's name, if they've done at least 10 actions on school for 30 days consecutively, they have a little flame emoji next to their name, and that's sort of like a coveted thing inside of schools. Everybody's like trying to get their flame.
Yeah.
It's like status. When I first saw it, I thought like, how did he add an emoji to his name? Like, because I saw
Yep.
this guy, a friend of mine, John. I was like, how did John add a flame next to his name? How do you even do that? And I was like trying to add a flame next to my name, and then I figured out what it was. I was like, oh, yeah. But yeah. They have all kinds of cool stuff too, like the rockets and stuff, or
hmm
MMR and everything. But yeah, fantastic. So obviously you're on school. Do you have your own community?
I do. I decided after I figured out what it was and that I was going to get 365 days of consistent activity on school, I created two communities.
Nice.
And I basically just pulled them out of my real life and, you know, the knowledge and talent and experience that I have that I can share with other people. That's basically how I created them. And I continue to iterate and not married to anything fully, but I am giving it a good go. So,
Awesome. But well, you're willing and able to explore and to experiment, right?
yes, that is what the last year has been. And I've been, you know, how people sometimes at the beginning of the year they think about, oh, okay, what's my word for this year?
Mm-hmm.
What was my word last year? I didn't intentionally choose one last year, but it was probably experimentation. And
Mm-hmm.
this year, it's definitely more about execution.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of consumption last year, and you don't ever stop learning, but
Mm-hmm.
um, really tying the execution in has a big impact, especially when you're venturing out into entrepreneurial pursuits.
Yeah. So, what are some big things you see yourself executing on this year, or you have executed on already?
So I, over the last year, when I first started and I learned, spiffed up myself on some digital marketing skills, I was building a digital marketing agency. And then I kind of took a step back because I started thinking again, like, what am I building? Is this what I want to build?
Right.
And understanding the amount of limited time that I have right now with a full time job and getting kids to and from private
Mm-hmm.
school, I decided that that could be part of the vision later. And if I had a client come in that really wanted a lot of done for you services,
Mm-hmm.
I could entertain it, but that's not what I'm building anymore. So I've pivoted away from building the agency to
Mm-hmm.
now it's more about finding a very specific niche type of client and translating the skills that I have kind of
Mm-hmm.
as if I'm adding to their operations in the first 90 days of a launch. So right now, I'm looking at Series A SaaS founders
Mm-hmm.
and helping them protect their first 90 days of their pipeline when they're getting ready to launch. Basically, by locking in one launch story and then making sure their salespeople actually use it.
Okay.
So it'll be like a 45-day sprint or something like that to get everybody telling the same story, one clear message, one sales talk track, and then verifying that salespeople are actually using it in live calls. And I am married to a sales director, so I do have firsthand knowledge of how salespeople don't do it, right? You tell them
Yeah,
these are the main things we want you conveying, and that's not what they do. So
right.
you don't want them winging it.
I think there's independent streak in a lot of salespeople. It's hard to get past sometimes.
Yes, yes. And we'll see how it goes. I've looked at some other types of people I can help as
Hmm.
well, and it's just kind of again, it goes with experimentation and finding an offer that people are interested in and need and want in their
Awesome.
business.
So, are you gonna stay focused like almost completely on people starting SaaS, or are you gonna help people in other areas too with marketing, or how like where do you see that unfolding? Or are you
Well,
still just trying to figure that out?
Well, I think any time that you put together a really detailed offer, there could be people outside of your ideal customer that you're talking to
Hmm.
that say, "Well, that's something that I would like. I'm not a SaaS founder, but I
Yeah.
need help with making my team, working consistently and sharing the right story so that my clients and my customers understand my brand and they think they're getting the thing that I want them to think they're getting, not something else that a salesperson told them, because then that erodes the brand, right? If they have a
Right.
misconception about it. And so I think anytime you do that, you may have other people that say, I want to do this. I will say my school community, the Prosper Communication Lab,
Hmm.
is slightly different. That audience is more just executives, founders, any kind of rising leader that just wants a private space to talk to humans and as they work on their communications mastery. So it's just an opportunity to connect with people on that. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, when it comes to comms skills, they know it's something that they need to practice, but they don't
Mm.
necessarily want to bug their friends or their family or their colleagues for that. So
Right.
that's the idea behind the lab right now.
Okay, cool. That sounds like a really good place to network too for finding SaaS founders. It almost sounds like it's
Yeah,
kind of
maybe if they're hanging out on school,
yeah.
perhaps.
Well, yeah. Well, my thought is too is like I don't know if you've thought about this, but if you have people who are executives and founders themselves, the odds that they know some if once you get to know enough of them, the odds you find somebody who knows a friend who's like, hey, I'm launching this SaaS product is kind of becomes a reality. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but that's pretty smart. If it was on purpose, and if not, it's still pretty smart.
Well, you gotta, it's kind of like taking photos of kids that are running around. You gotta take a lot of them till you
Hmm.
get a good one. And so that's just kind of my approach. I have a gazillion ideas all the time and you can't execute on all of them.
Right.
So you just have to be willing to collect data and see what it tells you and be ready to pivot and not worry too much about things that aren't working out. I mean, it's good to get that information and I think it helps you refine your target.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it. We're coming around to the end of this episode. Where can people find you at?
So, if if they're a Series A SaaS founder in the United States, I would say go to LinkedIn and
Okay.
send me a DM if you want my help with your launch and you're about 60 to 120 days out. Other people that don't fit that profile that can find me on school, I have my Prosper Communication Lab. It's just school.com/communicate.
Hmm.
And I also, my other community is for parents who have an interest in classical education. And
Okay.
that's just school.com/classical edu. I'm
Fantastic.
in other spots, but those are two are probably fine.
Those are the good spots.
Yeah, those two spots probably be good. School or send me a DM on LinkedIn.